Welcome to 700 Club Interactive. Academics, roommates, and social events are just a couple of things college students look forward to. But for Carla Matmati, the college experience turned into a nightmare.
But in the midst of her struggles, one voice gave her hope. Take a look.
I'm Carla Matmati. I'm 24 years old, and you would never believe how much life I've lived in those 24 years. When I was 14, I was molested at school. It made me feel like I was nothing. It made me feel dirty. I was just hurting so badly. I didn't care what kind of friends I had, just as long as I was accepted. I really, really love music. I started playing the viola. I think I started singing later. I started playing professionally when I was 14. If I was first chair in the symphony or did well in competitions, that I felt like I was something. That's really the only time that I felt special. I went away to college. I did pretty well at first, but I started partying. We had a party in our apartment, and I ended up getting date raped. I honestly thought my life was over. Completely over. I didn't know how to walk through it. I didn't know how to just be a normal person. I was living in a nightmare. I would have done anything at that point to escape what I was feeling. I had started drinking a lot, really heavily. If anything I could get my hands on, I would do. I had tried drugs, marijuana to cocaine. So at night, if I wasn't out at a party, I would just be up, or I would pace. One night I was in the hallway just by myself. I just heard a voice say, "I still want you." And every time I say that, I feel it all over again. Because I had a realization, an instant realization that Jesus and God, the God that created everything in the whole world, wanted me. He was telling me that he wanted me, and that he had still wanted me. And so I had knelt down and I said to him, "Jesus, I don't want to die anymore, I want to live." And I woke up the next morning and I was happy. I had never felt happiness like that before in my life. I was changed, and that it was because of Jesus. And it was because he wanted me. I had completely stopped doing drugs and sleeping around and drinking and everything. I had met somebody who I thought was a really good Christian. He had pursued me for a long time, wanted to date me, and we had gotten in a relationship, then we had gotten engaged, and then just out of nowhere, in his house, he actually ended up raping me. My initial way of dealing with it was to pretend like it never happened. I didn't know how to be that woman that it happened to a second time. For a little while, I really questioned God, because it would have been really easy to go back to drinking and to drugs after being raped a second time by somebody who was supposed to love me. And it had crossed my mind, but immediately I just knew none of those things ever worked, and the only thing that ever worked was Jesus. I would pray, I would just say, "Jesus, I need you," until the pain went away. And eventually, probably a year or so later, someone pointed out that I wasn't the same. I had realized that he had started healing me, healing my heart. I had a friend at the time who was traveling with Eddie James, and they needed a singer, and Eddie had heard a little bit about what I had gone through and wanted to try to help me out. So I went to audition to sing with Eddie James, and I ended up traveling on the road with him for 4 years. And after he had heard my testimony, he had me share my testimony at different churches and conferences and places. I love the way that Jesus loves me in my weakness. We give him all of our junk, we give him all of our pain, and he gives us joy and peace. When it's all said and done, and everything has happened, it's all done, that was the road As bad as it is, as rough as it is, that was the path that led me ultimately to Jesus, into knowing him, into feeling his love. I just have everything that I thought I never could have. I have a wonderful husband. I have a 5-month-old little girl. I lead worship for children, and some of my best memories in life are when I can put my arms around somebody and I was able to pray for them and start them on the process of their own healing and restoration and their own walk with Jesus.
Where do you go when you're broken? I mean, what do you do when somebody has wounded you not once, not twice, but 3 times? You know, there are things that happen in life that we can't explain. They're not fair. They're wounding. They're robbing. They're deep. They're painful. Where do you go when that happens to you? I don't know anybody to go to but Jesus. Who else can offer us healing, wholeness, the kind of love that she's talking about that just permeates your whole being and changes who you are, the kind of healing that gives you a fresh beginning? Only Jesus can offer that to you. You know, if some of you are with us today and you've gone through the kind of wounding that makes you feel humiliated and ashamed, less than valued, that makes you feel that kind of emotional and psychological pain that doesn't allow you to live, doesn't allow you to engage in the gift of life. It is a gift. But what do you do when you're hurting? You go to Jesus. You go to Jesus. That's what he took upon himself on the cross. That's what happened when he said it was finished. It meant in him all wholeness could be found. So that's what we want to pray about with you today. If you're calling in, if you're emailing in, if you're texting, blogging, whatever you might be doing. In fact, Carla is with us right now. She's with us by Skype. And Carla, we just want to welcome you to 700 Club Interactive. And, you know, maybe you could talk a little bit about that. You know, there's such shame involved when somebody is violated sexually. Tell us about how Christ changed that in you.
Well, honestly, it's something that I sometimes even feel now. And even listening to the segment and watching it on TV, sometimes I still even feel a little bit shameful or dirty. And I think every single time I just have to go before Jesus, the one who really, really knows me inside and out, and just go to him and talk to him and let him love me the way that he always has. He's been so faithful and so loving and kind, and I just have to trust him. Trust him.
So part of the victory for you, Carla, then, is that you understand that when this tries to come back in, you go back to him, back to the source,
Yes,
and
definitely.
you get refreshed again.
Yes, because I'm not 100% whole, not until the Lord comes again and everything is done away with and we're restored and we have glorified bodies. It's not going to be 100%. If I feel that insecurity or that pain, I just have to keep running to him. I think that's the solution. That's all I can do. I just have to keep going to him. He's the one that comes and is the healer.
Carla, can you just, what would you say to someone who had been through abuse? You know, I think it's actually a more common occurrence.
Honestly, for me, the way it happened was I had friends who noticed that something was wrong. They didn't know what was wrong, and they did like a friend. They put their arm around me. This is after I joined Eddie James Ministries, and they said, something's not right. Just tell us, open up. And through that, I was able to do it. And I think there's many different ways. I guess that's the beauty of friendship. And also prophecy is very effective in this area. But
Carla, you said something very interesting. Prophecy got you through it. How did prophecy get you through it?
Well, I had a friend who I don't exactly remember what they said, but they just looked me in the eye and basically said, I was still with the second guy,